Okay. Well, thank you. I love speaking in this innovative type of a venue or this type of audience because I don't need to waste time touting the benefits of smartphone-enabled market research for deeper consumer insights. Y'all already know that the connection consumers have with their smartphone and the ability to leverage camera and video functionality allow us to capture more accurate, richer data than was ever possible in the past through traditional channels. This is old news. So I can talk about how smartphone-enabled market research, plus the ability to collect and leverage activity and biometric data from wearable and mobile health technology, can get us to an even deeper level of insights. And I'll share some real-world examples. Now, coming from Kantar Health, the healthcare agency within the larger Kantar group, my talk will focus on health and wellness issues, but I'm sure you'll see that the ideas I discuss can apply to most any product category. You know, we're all hearing so much about the growth of the mobile health or mHealth space. And while activity trackers such as the Fitbit tend to get most of the attention because they're the most ubiquitous and they appeal to the more general population, the mHealth space goes so much deeper. We now have web-connected glucose monitors, web-connected scales that measure not only weight and BMI, but cardiovascular biometrics, web-connected blood pressure monitors, smart asthma inhalers, and a list goes on as new innovations come to market on a consistent basis. So finally, we have the ability to remotely, passively collect accurate biometric data without having to rely on manual input, which was never reliable to begin with. Now, the positive implications for healthcare in general are obvious as consumers become more attuned with the workings of their own bodies. Doctors can easily access relevant patient health metrics directly from the web. But what does it mean for us, for people in the research and insights business? Well, here's an opportunity for us to get insights using data collected passively through mobile health technology and combine that with data collected actively through surveys and direct engagement. So the passive data collection supports the active data collection. From a market research perspective, this is the key point. The data we collect passively through mobile health technology, it strengthens, it supports, it does not replace the data we collect actively through more traditional means. You see, the passively collected data alone, it only tells part of the story. It gets us to the what. What's going on inside a person's body? What's their level of activity, sleep, etc. But we need to actively ask direct questions in order to uncover the whys. Then and only then can we really identify the levers that drive consumer attitudes, behavior, and health outcomes. Also, by supplementing active with passive, we could ask fewer questions. We're also getting more accurate data because it's coming directly from the mobile health technology. So we get more data, we get better data, with less work required by the people who are participating in our study. So I think that lays out a good strategic foundation for why this type of work could really be vital in the healthcare industry. But okay, so how do you conduct these types of studies, right? This is kind of a fairly new territory. At Kantar Health, we're exploring different avenues. We're working with existing online platforms, but we also developed our own mobile survey app. Now, some of you in the room, especially those in the healthcare space, may be familiar with a company called Withings. They're a global player in the category with a significant market share across Europe, the United States, and parts of Asia. Maybe you came across them in a social media promotion that they run with Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller fame, and he's on the social networks talking about how he's lost over 100 pounds with the help of various Withings devices. Or more likely, you're familiar with them because they, about a month ago, were purchased by Nokia for 180 million euros. Well, anyway, we've developed a partnership with Withings, whereas we're able to directly recruit and survey specific segments of their current user base, while passively collecting relevant activity or biometric data from the relevant Withings health devices. Case in point, we recently conducted a smoking cessation study in Europe using passively collected activity, sleep, weight, and BMI data while actively surveying them around health and wellness issues. And these surveys were conducted, it was all mobile, conducted within the Withings mobile companion app. So by supplementing active with passive, we were able to look at self-reported stress levels against passively collected data on activity and average sleep time. We were able to look at self-reported data on feelings of restfulness versus actual sleep data coming from sleep trackers and see how it differs by gender. On the other spectrum, another avenue, Cantor Health developed its own mobile survey smartphone application, which in addition to what any mobile survey app could do, including but not limited to the ability to conduct short surveys, collect picture and video content, is also, through various APIs, able to passively collect biometric and activity data from a wide range of mobile health devices. So the smartphone and the smartphone app as the ultimate source and repository of the health and lifestyle data, let's look at how the combination of survey, visual, and biometric and activity data can converge to really enable us to dive deep into the consumer experience. But before I do, I just want to very briefly step away from talk about technology and mobile and research and focus on the importance of emotion. When looking into consumer experience, especially in the field of healthcare, when doing patient journey work, where it's so vital for us to establish empathy with the end users, we cannot leave out the emotional component. People suffering from chronic conditions, they have many physical symptoms, but they also have emotional quality of life symptoms, which are sometimes overlooked. And here is where a mobile survey app that could bring in picture and visual data could really take us to the next level and transcend some of the limitations of traditional market research to help as much as may be possible, to be realistic, but get close to seeing the world through their eyes, to help us see them not just as patients, because I'll tell you, they don't see themselves as just patients, but as human beings who happen to have serious health conditions that many of my clients can help them with. Case in point, we recently used our app to get closer to the chronic pain experience through a longitudinal mobile pain diary study with rheumatoid arthritis patients. The combination of survey data plus visual data allowed us to understand their experience, their life, in an emotional as well as a clinical context. So obviously, the survey data was a big part of the study. We were able to see over an extended period of time how pain evolves versus just one moment in time, and other stuff that would have been captured in a traditional online survey, such as comorbidities, current treatments they're using. So I won't bore you too much with this stuff. But here's what I think it really opens things up into understanding the life of a person with a chronic condition. And we didn't just ask them to share photos. We asked them to caption them, describe what we're looking at so we could view everything in context. And this opened us up. It really enabled them to share a true reality and things that we may not have even thought of addressing in a survey or an interview. We saw pictures of overflowing hampers, sinks, dishwashers, because they were in too much pain to be able to conduct even the most basic household chores. The person who captioned this dishwasher photo said that trying to empty that dishwasher was akin to climbing Mount Everest. And when you suffer from real chronic pain, that's not an exaggeration. The emotional bonds they had with their pets. A few people said that they felt there was a psychic connection with their dogs or cats where the animal actually felt or knew that their owner was suffering and was there to ease the burden. The tragedy of a young mother trying to care for an infant or a young child when suffering from debilitating pain, unable to breastfeed because they're on a biologic, too tired from the medication. They can't play with their kid, they could only sleep with them and nap with them. A mother who had to fight through the pain so she could lift her child, but only for a very short period of time because it was too painful. Sometimes the pictures just speak for themselves. Okay, so now with the additional ability to bring in data from wearable tech, for example, activity trackers. Now go back to that pain study. In addition to survey and visual data, we could add another level of data, mobility data. This way we could see how a certain level of activity on Monday might impact pain on a Tuesday. Or we could see how users of our clients' chronic pain solutions are faring in a real-world situation. We're doing work in the diabetes space where we're looking at accurate glucose meter coming from web-connected glucose monitors and looking at that against diet, fitness activity, and mood. We could see how various factors affect the person to remain under control with their diabetes. Does mood impact how they treat their condition? People who actively manage it through diet and exercise versus those who may diet but don't exercise. In the asthma space, where smart asthma inhalers capture the time, frequency, and location of inhaler usage, getting that data combined with surveys can give us great insights into medication compliance and efficacy. It could even be programmed so that if we see somebody is using an inhaler more than what would be considered the norm, that could trigger an automatic survey that would seek to ascertain the reason why. These are just some ideas, things that we're doing, but they should spur thinking on how this might be relevant for your brands or your clients' brands. Now, despite these recent examples from a market research perspective, this is still fairly new uncharted territory. So with anything new, there are going to be challenges and things we still need to learn. Recruitment challenges. Do we just focus on finding people who are currently using these devices? Or do we need to buy and ship them to them ourselves? How much are people really willing to share in terms of their own biometric data? Probably it requires higher honoraria. And of course, we always have to control for possible bias. But the ultimate rewards of doing this type of research mandate that we find answers to all these questions and strike the optimum balance. So thank you. I came in a bit under 15 minutes. So I'm happy to take any questions. Oh, we could do these anywhere where the devices are available. So obviously, some markets, it's going to be hard to find people who have them, and they're not available everywhere. Africa could be a challenge, but we've been able to do it in the United States and Europe, and we plan to do it in China and Japan as well.
I'm going to step down here so I can see if there's other questions.
I'm not sure if you have any insight into this, but how can suppliers really take advantage of this passive data and kind of hook into that so that they have it available when clients...
Sorry, excuse that again?
How can suppliers really hook into the passive data and how they can proactively collect that in anticipation for when clients could possibly use it? Could you speak a little bit more on like...
Suppliers of the health devices?
Of the market research on the panelist side, collecting the passive data maybe that you would want in anticipation for these medical journals that you're going to go after?
Oh, well, basically, that's what we do. We did a number of pilot studies, self-funded on our own. We got IRB approval so that we would be able to publish it. And basically just work out not just that the technology works, but how it works in the field in terms of acceptance rates and how many people are going to agree to this type of study. What would be the completion rates during a longitudinal type of study. So definitely you have to test. You don't want to go talk to clients and like let them be a guinea pig for something new. We make sure we've got it down before we go and start selling. I hope that answers. But you know, you want to start simple. Start with the activity tracker data because they're easy to find and it's easier data to work with versus when we get into stuff like you know, gait and accelerating and whatnot.
Other questions?
Hi there. Over here. Woo.
Sorry, I didn't start yet. Okay, thank you. The tracker information that you're mentioning, is this all physical data versus emotional type data? The emotional is really self-proclaimed in the pictures and maybe responses.
Exactly. I mean, there are devices out there that claim to accurately measure emotions and sensory. As a matter of fact, it was used in some art director in the advertising agencies, art directors clubs. Lady Gaga used it in a concert to try to see how the different mood levels elevated. But I'm a little skeptical about how accurate that could be. And I think it measures intensity more than the emotion itself. But that's definitely an area that will be improving, and that'll be really interesting.
Yep. With the image capture, is that actually within the bounds of the survey? So are you capturing the images as a survey?
I'm sorry, the door's open, I can't.
Yep. Are you capturing the images as a survey response or in parallel to the surveys?
Oh, it's happening in parallel. So people are answering surveys. It's all going on in the background. That's the beauty of it.
So
We're passively collecting all this during the whole period of time. And it's invisible. I mean, they opt in. We're not doing this without permission. But it's invisible to them. They don't have to do any manual work on that end except allow us to access it.
So you haven't actually used the camera as part of the survey?
As part of the...
So answering a question with a photo?
No, I mean, we're surveying them on the phone. We're collecting visual data via the phone as well.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all integrated. Yeah, so like within one app, it'll make it much easier in the back end to do the analysis.
I think we have time for one more question. Okay.
Okay.
Ryan, thank you.